on DD India.
India that invents.
In the next 1 hour, Israel claims new airstrike on a Gaza refugee camp, kills second Hamas leader as first civilian evacuees leave Gaza. Britain hosts Global AI Summit. Indian Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar to participate in discussions on establishing collaborative framework on artificial intelligence later today. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar addresses Indian diaspora in Portugal, urges for contribution in enhancing diplomatic ties. Pakistan starts rounding up undocumented foreigners, mostly Afghans, had set a midnight 1st November deadline for them to leave or face expulsion. And in sports, India will take on Sri Lanka in the ICC World Cup match today in Mumbai. Let's get to the latest on Israel-Hamas conflict. It rages on, and another Hamas leader was killed in the second strike by Israel on Wednesday at Gaza's Jabalia refugee camp in 2 days. The Israeli military said that its fighter jet struck a Hamas command and control complex in Jabalia based on precise intelligence, killing the head of the group, Mohammad Asar. To combat terrorism in the besieged enclave, Israeli forces bombed the densely populated Gaza Strip in its campaign to wipe out Hamas. This also comes at least 320 foreign passport holders and some injured Gazans left the Palestinian enclave through the Rafah crossing into Egypt on Wednesday. This was the first batch of the civilian evacuees to benefit from a deal mediated by Qatar, Egypt, Israel and Hamas. In fact, under the deal brokered between Egypt, Israel and Hamas, 81 wounded people and an initial list of 500 foreign passport holders were expected to be allowed out of the Gaza Strip in the coming days, though there is no timeline for how long it will remain open for evacuation. While the initial group of foreign nationals, including Americans, departed Gaza on Wednesday, U.S. added that Washington expects the exit of its citizens and others to continue over the next several days.
We want to make sure we can get U.S. citizens and their family members out as safely as possible. In the past 24 hours, we have informed U.S. citizens and their family members with whom we are in contact that they will be assigned specific departure dates. We have asked them to continue to monitor their email regularly over the next 24 to 72 hours for specific instructions about how to exit. The U.S. Embassy in Cairo is standing by to provide assistance to U.S. citizens as they enter Egypt. The situation remains extremely fluid, but this has been an important breakthrough, and we will keep working on it to ensure that all of the U.S. citizens who wish to depart safely from Gaza can do so.
Meanwhile, Israeli President Isaac Herzog, in an address on Wednesday, exhorted his fellow citizens to stand united and steadfast as his country waged a military campaign against terrorism.
The enemy seeks to kindle hatred between us, between Jewish citizens and Arab citizens. We have to fight back against this without compromise and single-mindedly. We have to reject every urge towards hatred and racism towards different groups among us, to recall the dozens of Arab citizens who paid with their lives, those at home and those in battle. And the most important is to recall the responsibility and the mutual respect that exemplifies the Arab community in Israel.
U.S. President Joe Biden also said that these recent evacuations are the result of intense and urgent American diplomacy with their partners in the region.
Today, thanks to concerted American leadership, we're in a situation where safe passage for wounded Palestinians and foreign nationals to exit Gaza has started. The American citizens are able to exit today as part of the first group of probably over 1,000 We'll see more of this process going on in the coming days. Working nonstop to get Americans out of Gaza as soon and as safely as possible.
As China assumes the Security Council's presidency in November, Beijing's ambassador to the UN in a press conference said that resolving the Israel-Palestinian question is a top priority. He further said that China will make efforts towards a ceasefire in Gaza and seek to de-escalate tensions in the region. China also reiterated its support for a two-state solution.
The top priority for our presidency and also for the Security Council as a whole currently is to tackle the Israel-Palestinian question, namely the Gaza conflict, which is going on in the Middle East. For the presidency, what we will continue to work is to really to make further efforts to make sure that the Council can play a responsible and meaningful role in particularly calling for ceasefire, protecting the civilians, and avoiding or preventing the further deterioration of the tension and also further humanitarian catastrophes. And the Council has been working on a draft resolution for quite a while.
A Cornell University student accused of anti-Semitic threats against Jewish students appeared in court and was ordered to remain in jail on Wednesday. A federal complaint has charged 21-year-old Patrick Dye with posing threats to kill or injure another person using interstate communications. The arrest came as FBI Director Christopher Wray told a Senate hearing that anti-Semitism is reaching historic levels in the U.S.
I will say that this is a threat that is reaching, in some ways, sort of historic levels, in part because, as you know all too well, the Jewish community is targeted by terrorists really across the spectrum.
U.S. President Joe Biden visited a farm in Minnesota to tout his administration's investment in rural America. He announced more than $5 billion in spending, which will go towards adapting farming to help climate change and expanding high-speed internet access. We get two more from our U.S. correspondent, Nick Harper, on this.
Well, this may have been an official engagement, but it served the dual purpose of looking a lot like a campaign stop, a way to boost the president's position ahead of next November's election. Announcing new investment, Biden said that his administration was ensuring jobs were not exported overseas and instead created here at home, as well as expanding American export production. Now, the American heartland became the backdrop to champion investment in rural communities, a way to try and win over blue-collar voters. This is a kick-off event for an administration-wide tour of rural communities, with top officials hitting 15 states over the coming weeks, including several of the important swing states. Now, the White House has also been keen to point out that the $5 billion investment announced on Wednesday was, they said, just a fraction of the administration's overall support for rural communities. They mentioned $11 billion to bring clean energy to rural communities, as well as $90 billion spent on expanding access to high-speed internet. It's certainly a shift for the president, focusing on a firmly domestic agenda after 3 weeks of intense attention on the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
U.S. President Joe Biden is expected to meet his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping later this month. The White House says the leaders of the world's two largest economies have agreed in principle to meet on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in California. DD India's correspondent Kate Fisher gets us more.
Well, the White House has said that President Biden is expected to have a tough conversation with President Xi, saying that the intense competition between the two countries requires intense diplomacy and that US policy towards China has not changed. It's said, though, that the logistical details of this meeting were still being put together, but that it was planning for a constructive conversation. The high-stakes face-to-face meeting comes as the White House is navigating major wars in Ukraine and Israel, and that is putting additional pressure on an already strained US-China relationship, which has been damaged in recent years by a trade war that began during the Trump administration. Xi Jinping is Russian President Vladimir Putin's most powerful financial ally, and Chinese support is critical to keeping the Russian war effort alive. Earlier this month, those two leaders met in Beijing to discuss how to deepen their ties, and this relationship is a major concern for the White House. President Biden has frequently framed the battle between democracy and autocracy as central to his presidency. Other issues that are likely to be on the agenda when they meet include trade, the economy, and human rights concerns. This face-to-face meeting follows others between high-level American officials like Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, as well as the head of the CIA, the National Security Advisor, and the Commerce Secretary, and John Kerry, who is the Special Envoy on Climate, one of the few areas where the two countries are trying to find common ground. Kate Fisher in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Donald Trump's son testified at a New York civil fraud trial accusing the former U.S. president and his family businesses of inflating asset values. Trump Jr. has told the court in New York that he was not directly involved in preparing of the so-called statements which state prosecutors say were fraudulently inflated. DD India's Jody Jacobs reports from New York.
In a brief appearance on Wednesday, the first of the adult Trump children to testify in the matter, Donald Trump Jr. said he had little to do with the financial practices of the organization. He said he and his brother Eric took over the management of the company when their father assumed the presidency back in 2017 and maintains he had little involvement in financial matters. This particular lawsuit by New York Attorney General Letitia James accuses the former president and his two sons of inflating their assets by billions of dollars to secure better loan terms. It's just one of the many trials the former president faces as he campaigns to retake the White House. There's a lot at stake in this trial, $250 million in damages and a possible ban on the iconic Trump organization from operating in New York. Donald Trump has denied any wrongdoing and has repeatedly accused both the Attorney General and the judge of political bias. The former president was not in court on Wednesday, but he is set to testify on Monday. His other son, Eric Trump, is also expected to testify this week, as well as Ivanka Trump. Jody Jacobs in New York, reporting for DD India.
We're heading for a short break, but to still come on this edition of DD India News Hour, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar meets Indian diaspora in Portugal, urges Indian community to contribute to the Golden Jubilee celebrations of India-Portugal diplomatic ties. Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Sri Lanka visit to address India-Sri Lanka Business Summit today. Various MOUs to be signed. Army Chief General Manoj Pandey visits the world's highest militarized zone, Siachen, and pays obeisance at the War Memorial.
Welcome to Jaipur. Swagato to West Bengal, India's cultural epicenter. West Bengal invites you to share its richness, to be united as one family with one shared vision of building a better tomorrow.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. Let's get you more international updates. The impact that artificial intelligence could have on our lives will continue to be discussed at a global forum in the UK later today. A new agreement has been signed by 28 countries, promising closer international collaboration to ensure safe future development of artificial intelligence. From the UK, John Bever reports on this.
AI is being widely used already, everything from social media to fraud detection in banking. We're also seeing it with things like picture and video editing, as well as, of course, as ChatGPT. Progress is rapid. A few years ago, AI was a concept rather than a reality. This conference is viewed by some as the world trying to catch up, to try and look at what the future issues might be and to get ahead of them. It's taking place here at Bletchley Park with leaders in AI invited, including Elon Musk, who's called for a third-party referee to stop AI getting out of hand. The so-called Bletchley Declaration is stopping short of that regulation, but has been signed by 28 countries and has recognised the potential for serious, even catastrophic harm, either deliberate or unintentional, that could be caused by AI, and the global effort needed to counter that. Politicians from the developing world have been represented here as well, many of them urging those gathered at the summit to recognise the positive impact AI could have on the developing world, and that those impacts have to be accessible to all. John Beaver, Bletchley Park in the UK, reporting for DD India.
Meanwhile, India says the future of artificial intelligence needs to be shaped by countries coming together for collective good. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology, says that the governments do not have to choose between innovation and regulation, but trust is essential. Rajiv Chandrasekhar speaks with DD India's Julia Chapman on what India hopes to achieve from the event.
We've heard a lot today about the need to balance innovation with regulation. Where does India stand on that?
No, I don't think this is a binary that we need to choose between innovation and regulation. Our Prime Minister in our country is very clearly invested in acknowledging that governments or democratically elected countries like ours have a primary duty to the safety and trust of our citizens, whether that's law and order in the real world or safety and trust on the internet and vis-a-vis these new technologies. So we will certainly keep safety and trust of our citizens as our goal, and we will ensure that any platform, AI or otherwise, are accountable for any harm that the platform causes to our citizens.
And when it comes to protecting citizens, do you believe that that is more of a national project, or should there be international regulation?
Look, we must also accept that the internet, the way the world of tech today exists, there are no borders. And so even if I in India have these great laws and great regulations, the crime or the harm can be perpetrated in another jurisdiction. The victim could be in India or vice versa. And the actual impact of the crime could be in a third jurisdiction. So I think the very nature of the ubiquitousness of the internet and therefore of tech platforms on the internet, including AI, but not limited to AI, require countries to wake up to the fact that however outstanding the country is in terms of its own laws, that they will not be able to survive or succeed unless the corresponding other economies or the countries mirror their approach towards regulating the internet and regulating AI.
And with that in mind, what do you make of China's involvement in this summit?
Look, I think there's no disputing the fact that China is a major presence in tech, a major presence in AI. They have their ambitions. As long as countries, big or small, come onto the table and accept these basic principles, that at the end of the day, the future of tech is not going to look like any one country dominating it and sort of giving it out as if it was some kind of a favor. Rather, it should be from ground up designed to be an effort where every country, big or small, the global south or the developed nations and their people can enjoy the benefits of these technologies. So this is our philosophy. This is our Prime Minister has said this during the G20, that the world is one family. Our own conduct about DPIs, the digital public infrastructure, is that one that says that innovation should be accessible even to the global south.
India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, addressed the Indian community in Portugal. Dr. S. Jaishankar was accompanied by Portugal's Foreign Minister, João Cravinho. In his address, the minister highlighted Portugal's contribution in promoting closer India-EU ties and also urged the Indian community to contribute to the 50th anniversary celebrations of India-Portugal diplomatic ties. On the second day of her visit to Sri Lanka, Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will attend the commemoration of the bicentennial anniversary of the arrival of Indo-Eurasian Tamils in Sri Lanka. She will also address the India-Sri Lanka Business Summit. The minister will oversee signing of the MOU for solar electrification of religious places in Sri Lanka under Indian assistance, along with the inauguration of 2 branches of State Bank of India. Earlier on the first day of her visit, she paid obeisance at the Sri Dalada Maligawa temple at Kandy. She's on a 3-day visit to Sri Lanka. Dr. Ahmed Moin Farooqi joins us from Colombo. Ahmed, good morning. We've just given a broad outline of how the day looks for the finance minister there in Sri Lanka. It's her second day today. Get us more as to how do we understand the significance and the relevance of this visit given the timing?
Good morning, Preeti. Yes, you see, India has been the voice of Global South, and India had provided a crucial assistance to Sri Lanka during the economic crisis that we had seen last year. Now, in continuation with the assistance that India provided, several key visits have been taking place over this year. And now Finance Minister's visit also has a crucial significance in this regard. So we are informed that there's going to be a discussion between the Finance Minister and the Sri Lankan leadership, the President of Sri Lanka, Ranil Wickremesinghe, as well as the Prime Minister, Dr. Dinesh Gunawardena. So this will be a very crucial kind of a discussion that will take place today. Apart from that, of course, the commemoration of 200 years of the coming of Indian origin Tamils into Sri Lanka. This has been a very crucial kind of a landmark event, because commemoration of 200 years of people who have ties with Indian side has been something which people have been looking forward to. These Indian origin Tamils have been working in plantation as the workers there and have been living in various difficulties. And India has been providing assistance in various forms through the housing project or the projects related to healthcare or education sector as well. So this will also be taken forward is what is likelihood as of now. Apart from that, the India-Sri Lanka Business Summit is where the Finance Minister will be focusing on connectivity. As we know, connectivity has been a major kind of a topic between the two countries ever since we saw the resumption of flights between Chennai and Jaffna last year, or for that matter, between Colombo and Mumbai earlier this year, or the even starting of Cordelia cruises, which came to Sri Lanka from India. Apart from that, we also saw the ferry services resuming from Nagapattinam to Kanke-Santurai. So connectivity has been the buzzword, and it will be the most important kind of a theme going forward in the diplomatic ties between the two countries. Preeti.
All right. Also, Ahmed, we've seen how India has always promoted as an given a call for the use of clean and green energy. Spell out more details on the solar electrification of religious places that looks ambitious in Sri Lanka, and also that will be done through Indian assistance. Get us more on that as well.
Yes, Preeti. India has promoted adoption of green practices quite on several occasions. I mean, there have been wind power projects which India has been pioneering. Apart from that, the solar electrification, 82.4 crores assistance would be provided to Sri Lanka for adopting the solar electrification of religious places in the entire island nation. This has been a very significant kind of a project because on one end we are promoting green energy, at the same time we are also trying to enter into various other forms of greener and cleaner fuels, including green hydrogen. So this is where India and Sri Lanka would seek a collaboration which will be sustainable as well as in tandem with the various SDGs to keep the carbon emissions less as well. Preeti.
All right, we leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from India. In fact, UNESCO has added 2 Indian cities, Gwalior and Kozhikode, to its Creative Cities network. Gwalior was included in the music category, while Kozhikode made it to the list in the literature category. Also, the cities were acknowledged for their commitment towards utilizing culture and creativity for urban development. The announcement was welcomed by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Army Chief General Manoj Pandey visited the Siachen base camp and paid obeisance at the war memorial to mark the sacrifice by 1,186 soldiers in Siachen. General Pandey arrived in Leh on 1st November at roughly 20,000 feet in the Karakoram range. The Siachen Glacier is renowned as the world's highest militarized zone. During the winters, temperature can plunge below -60 degrees Celsius. Air quality index in India's capital, Delhi, was recorded at 336 on Wednesday morning, bringing the air quality under the very poor category for the 4th day in a row. As per the System of Air Quality and Weather Forecasting and Research, that is SUFFER, the city's AQI has been in the very poor category since Sunday. Also, the nearby areas of the national capital also recorded an AQI of 397. A quick break ahead, but still to come on this edition of DD India News. Our preparations and last leg for opening of Sri Ganesha Temple, the largest Hindu temple in Germany. We'll also tell you what's making among the top lots at Sotheby's upcoming fall art auctions in New York City. Storm siren causes rain and high waves as it hits the south coast of Cornwall.
Turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution.
This series is going to tell stories of such changemakers.
Watch Changemakers on DD India.
In a world that never stops, where information shapes our reality, one app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. Up next, we get you a quick recap of the top stories once again. Israel claims new airstrike on a Gaza refugee camp, killing second Hamas leader as first civilian evacuees leave Gaza. Britain hosts Global AI Summit. Indian Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar to participate in the discussions on establishing collaborative framework for artificial intelligence later today. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar addresses Indian diaspora in Portugal, urges for contribution in enhancing diplomatic ties. Pakistan starts rounding up undocumented foreigners, mostly Afghans, had set a midnight November 1st deadline for them to leave or face expulsion. And in sports, India will take on Sri Lanka in the ICC World Cup match today in Mumbai. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin will meet their counterparts, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, later this month in New Delhi. The U.S. State Department on Wednesday said that they will discuss concerns and developments in the Indo-Pacific. The meeting comes amid tensions between the United States and China in the Indo-Pacific region. In Pakistan, police dismantled mud houses in an Afghan colony on the outskirts of Islamabad late on Wednesday. All this is happening as deadline for undocumented refugees to leave or face expulsion ended on November 1 midnight. Pakistan cited security reasons, brushing off calls to reconsider from the United Nations, rights groups and also Western embassies. Residents of the demolished Afghan colony complained that they had not been given enough time. They had been given 2 weeks to clear out. Some of those ordered to leave have spent decades in Pakistan. The Interior Ministry of Pakistan said more than 140,000 people have already voluntarily left after days, and major roads out of the country were jammed. The United Nations Refugee Agency has been warning that Pakistan's planned expulsion of more than 1 million undocumented foreign nationals risks triggering a human rights catastrophe.
Keeping in view the situation in Afghanistan, we are calling upon the government to continue to provide protection and safety to all those people who are vulnerable and who are living in Pakistan. As you know that Afghanistan is going through severe humanitarian challenges, including human rights challenges for women and girls. And the government of Pakistan is implementing this plan, and we believe that such plans will have serious implications for all those who have been displaced and who may face serious protection risk upon their return. So we are appealing the government to come up with a comprehensive, sustainable mechanism to manage and register all these people who need international protection in Pakistan.
And thousands of migrants gathered in southern Mexico on Wednesday, calling for passage through the country to reach its northern border with the United States. Traveling with families, migrants gathered in the town of Huixtla in Capiz State for a break ahead of the journey towards north. Having lost everything during the Eta and Iota hurricanes in 2020, the poverty and insecurity in their home countries has forced them to migrate. This year has seen record numbers crossing the Darien Gap region, connecting Panama and Colombia. A Russian drone attack set ablaze the Kremenchuk oil refinery in central Ukraine. The fire at Kremenchuk refinery was quickly put out. The extent of the damage was not clear, and it also knocked out power supply in 3 villages. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces had repelled Russian attacks in frontline sectors in the east and northeast. Ukraine's Air Force said that air defenses shot down 18 of 20 drones and a missile fired by Russia overnight. In Berlin, a decade and a half's worth of construction is nearing completion on what will become Germany's largest Hindu temple. The community-led project comes as Indian diaspora in Germany continues to grow, particularly as Europe's largest economy continues to seek out young Indians to work in strategically important fields like engineering, IT and medicine. DD India correspondent Trent Murray, who's given an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour of the Sri Ganesha temple as the final preparations are made for its opening.
The hustle and bustle of the German capital can feel a world away from the spiritual surroundings of the subcontinent, but a dedicated and very determined Indian community has been working to build a home away from home for the city's Hindus.
Our idea was motivation was to involve South, North, West, East all together and make an Indian unity. Not only India and also Singapore and Nepal, Bhutan and Sri Lanka, that we are welcoming them also as a part of our community. But the main thing was interested that we will have a unity of India. India should build a temple because we are living so much years in Germany and we have never built a temple in Germany. That was our idea and our dream also.
15 years worth of craftsmanship, creativity and community have helped transform this plot of land in a suburban park to a place of spiritual reflection. A labour of love spanning different generations, young and old pitching in to turn a long-held dream into a reality. The project has relied on an army of skilled architects and artisans travelling from India each year. But following 5,000-year-old Hindu building specifications has proved challenging in some areas.
They made a complete deities with cement because all Indian temple they will put all with stone manufactured. But we cannot bring all stones here. It is very costly. Then we found an architect that will make complete with cement. It shows like that stone.
Once completed, Sri Ganesha will be Germany's largest Hindu temple, catering for a community that continues to increase in size thanks to the growing economic, political and social ties between New Delhi and Berlin.
Indians, they are hardworking people, they are sincere people, and they gel really well with the society. And that's the reason why the students who come here, they assimilate very well, they start their jobs. Now we also see, Berlin is a startup hub, so a lot of Indians are also coming up with their startup ideas. I've seen many people having their own companies, and that's the reason, people are attracted to this place as well, because this is also, when they come, they have a feeling of home.
Of course, a project of this scale also comes with a sizable price tag. But from day one, leaders here said they didn't want this temple built using credit or debt. Instead, every brick, every tile, every lick of paint has been funded entirely through private donations. And to avoid having to telephone the bank to ask for a loan, the temple's leaders say it's been young Indians who have rallied to make sure there were enough resources available.
The youngsters, they also thought that in order to keep that going, in order to give this heritage further to our children, to the next generation, second, third generation, we need to jump in, we need to pitch in. And that's the reason the community has come forward, and in big numbers. So it's money coming from donations, however big or small it is. Temples are always built with donation because it doesn't belong to an individual. It belongs to the community. Even youngsters, students who are scarce on funds, they also come and donate, whatever and however they can.
The aim is for Sri Ganesha to be completed in the first quarter of next year. Working closely with the Indian Embassy, the opening will mark a major milestone for the men, women and children that make up the country's vibrant Indian community, laying the foundations, quite literally, for future generations to come together and celebrate the gods that lie at the heart of the world's oldest religion. Trent Murray for DD India, Berlin.
Havana honored Day of the Dead with a colorful parade in which local and Mexican artists brought skeletons to life. The annual tradition of musicians, dancers, artists and locals took over Mercedes Street in Old Havana, showcasing love for Mexican culture. An altar dedicated to deceased Cuban and Mexican figures, including songwriters Pablo Milanés and Armando Manzanero, was also set up at the Mexican Cultural Center La Casa del Benemérito de las Americas Benito Juárez. Storm Ciarán crashed pennants on the promenade, causing high waves to wash over the coastal wall. Satellite footage indicates that Storm Ciarán is approaching, expected to bring strong winds and heavy rains. UK's National Weather Service predicts that it will cross the southern half of the UK with gusts of close to 70 to 80 miles per hour and storms exceeding 85 miles per hour. The northern Queensland state of Australia is experiencing bushfires that have damaged hundreds of homes and claimed the lives of 2 individuals. Residents in Queensland are being advised to evacuate due to 2 massive bushfires which have destroyed at least 45 homes. The early start of the fire season comes as Australia recorded its driest September, and the Weather Bureau predicts that weather and below average rainfall could also be on the cards. More than 7,500 hectares are burning out of control in the neighbouring state of New South Wales. A 4-star hotel in hurricane-ravaged Acapulco has been transformed into a communal kitchen for needy neighbors who have been left without food and water in the aftermath of the natural disaster. Acama Hotel, one of the many destroyed by Hurricane Otis, is distributing food and supplies to the city's poorest residents. The hurricane, which hit Acapulco with winds of 165 miles per hour, caused flooding, roof damage and severe incommunication, leaving the 900,000 population desperate for food and water. Beijing, the capital of China, is under dense layer of smog cover. The previous day, authorities issued their highest warnings and alerts for fog and haze, alerting the public for the possibility of visibility as low as 50 meters. Beijing plans to implement traffic control measures if it triggers its highest air pollution warning, citing weak, cold air currents from the North Pole, industrial activities, heavy trucking and also crop fires as contributing factors. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world now. Britain's Queen Camilla visited an animal sanctuary on the 2nd day of her state visit to Kenya. During the visit, she interacted with kids from a local club and resident women and got gifts from them. Dressed as terrifying Halloween characters, police officials arrested 2 people allegedly engaged in drug dealing in Lima. The suspects were members of the Clan Bilbao gang selling drugs in the neighborhood. Police also seized 1,568 small packets of cocaine and cash in the operation. Pablo Picasso's Femme à la Montre and Jean-Michel Basquiat's paintings are among the top lots at Sotheby's upcoming fall art auction in the New York City. Picasso's masterpiece is estimated around $120 million, while Basquiat's painting is estimated to fetch between $40 to $60 million. The auctions will kick off on November 8th. Natives in Bolivia began the Day of the Dead celebrations by baking the traditional children-shaped bread and visiting their loved ones' graves. They believe that the souls return to visit their loved ones and to relish what they enjoyed most in life. So relatives prepare the favorite food and drinks of the dead. In a first from a pontiff of Vatican, Pope Francis said on Wednesday that he will attend the COP28 climate conference starting next month in Dubai. Francis, 86 years old, has made protection of the environment one of the hallmarks of his papacy and met last month with COP28 President Sultan Al Jaber. A quick break ahead, but when we come back on the other side of the break, stay with us to know how markets react to Federal Reserve not deciding to raise interest rates from their 22-year high. In a scintillating match in ICC Cricket World Cup 2023, South Africa thrashed New Zealand by 190 runs, marking New Zealand's third consecutive defeat. In a heart-touching gesture, Little Master's statue unveiled at Wankhede Stadium. Stay with us to know the details.
Namaskaram from Telangana, India's youngest state, a rising star.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. Let's get you updates from the world of markets now. Interest rates in the United States are going to remain on hold after the Federal Reserve decided not to raise them from their 22-year high. Now, this is the second time in a row that the country's central bank opted against an increase. Benji Hire reports that Fed Chair Jerome Powell is not ruling out hikes in the future in a bid to bring down inflation.
Well, since the start of last year, the US central bank has raised interest rates 11 times. That's an aggressive pace, the likes of which has not been seen since the early 1980s. And those steady increases have all been aimed at trying to bring down inflation. But according to the Fed's preferred indicator, inflation remains at around 3.7%. That's still stubbornly above the Fed's target of 2% maximum, which is why Fed Chair Jerome Powell has suggested there will be more rate hikes to come. Even so, traders don't anticipate a rate rise from this two-day meeting, meaning we could see another hike from the final meeting of this year in mid-December, although traders currently believe there's only a 20% chance of that happening. Consumer spending, though, remains robust, and data out in the past week showed a very strong result for third-quarter GDP. The US economy growing by 4.9% in the 3 months from July to September. A stronger economy might push the Federal Reserve to keep rates higher for longer to try and tamp down inflation. The Fed will announce its decision whether to raise rates or keep them on pause on Wednesday afternoon. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
So that was Nick Harper with the report. Also continuing with updates from the US. Ørsted, a renewable energy firm, suspended the development of 2 offshore wind projects in the United States on November 1st, citing supply chain delays and also rising prices in the industry. Ørsted, the world's largest offshore wind developer, has announced that it will stop developing its Ocean Wind 1 and 2 projects in New Jersey, causing potential impairment of up to $5.58 billion. In fact, $5.58 billion Danish crowns. Now, the U.S. offshore wind industry faces challenges like inflation, interest rate hikes, and supply chain delays. But the White House pledges support with billions of dollars in incentives. From business, we now turn focus to sports updates. Talking of cricket first, South Africa thrashed New Zealand by 190 runs in the ICC Cricket World Cup in Pune on Wednesday. Fiery centuries from Rassie Evander Dassen and Quinton de Kock, followed by a 4-wicket haul from Keshav Maharaj, helped Proteas register their 6th win in the World Cup. Chasing 358, New Zealand kept on losing wickets at regular intervals as Maharaj took 4, while Marco Jansen scalped 3. For New Zealand, Glenn Phillips scored 60 and emerged as the highest scorer. Earlier, Rassie and De Kock scored 133 and 114 runs respectively. This was New Zealand's third consecutive defeat in the ongoing tournament. India will square off with Sri Lanka in the ICC World Cup encounter in Mumbai today. A win will ensure that India leaps into the knockout phase. India has remained undefeated in the tournament, winning all of its 6 matches. On the other hand, Sri Lanka has lost 4 of their 6 matches. Also, India and Sri Lanka have clashed with each other 9 times in the ICC Cricket World Cup. Each team has won 4 matches, while 1 game yielded no result.
Get ready for an epic showdown as 2 cricketing giants, India and Sri Lanka, lock horns at the iconic Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. This historic venue holds special memories for Indian cricket fans, especially that unforgettable evening on April 2, 2011, when India secured their 2nd ICC Men's ODI World Cup title. And now in 2023, these 2 teams are set to face each other once again in a round-robin match of cricket's biggest event. But the teams enter this contest with vastly different forms. Sri Lanka, the winners of the 1996 edition, have had a challenging journey in this tournament. With just 2 wins and 4 losses in their bag, their most recent defeat was at the hands of the rising Afghanistan team.
On paper and considering their current form, it seems that Kusal Mendes and his men might be in for a tough battle when they go up against the unbeaten Team India on Thursday. This marks the first encounter between these Asian cricketing giants since India's dominant 10-wicket victory in the Asia Cup Summit clash. In the ODI World Cup, they have crossed paths 9 times and their record stands at a fairly even 4 wins each, with 1 match ending without a result.
Meanwhile, Team India is riding a wave of success. They are on a 6-match winning streak in this World Cup and have displayed exceptional performance in both batting and bowling departments. With just 3 group stage games left and the need to leapfrog 3 other teams to secure a place in the top 4, it seems unlikely that the Sri Lankans will advance to the knockout stages. But in this game of uncertainties, players like Sadira and Dilshan Madhushanka are having excellent campaigns and might aim to hand the world #1 side their first defeat in the competition.
Men in blue are determined to continue their winning streak and are just 1 win away from securing their place in the Final 4. So come Thursday, get ready for this thrilling encounter at the Wankhede Stadium as these 2 cricketing giants battle it out on the same hallowed ground where history was made in 2011. Will India keep their winning juggernaut going, or will Sri Lanka pull off a miracle? It's a clash you don't want to miss. With camera person Bhim, this is Taposh Bhattacharya for DD India from Wankhede Stadium, Mumbai.
As a mark of respect to India's legendary cricketer Sachin Tendulkar, his life-size statue was unveiled at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai on the eve of India's World Cup clash against Sri Lanka. The statue is a tribute to Tendulkar's illustrious career and contribution to Indian cricket. The sculpture captures Tendulkar in action, playing one of his iconic cricket strokes. Several dignitaries, including Sachin Tendulkar and his family, graced the occasion. All right, let's get this special report, which has been put forth by our correspondent, Taposh Bhattacharya.
Welcome to the iconic Wankhede Stadium in the heart of Mumbai, the traditional cricket capital of India. This colossal venue has witnessed countless historic moments in the world of cricket. Established in 1974, the Wankhede Stadium stands proudly on the distinct red soil pitch that has become a legendary in cricket folklore. One cannot talk about Wankhede Stadium without mentioning the master blaster himself, Sachin Tendulkar. In the 1996 World Cup, Tendulkar's masterful innings left fans in awe, solidifying his stature as a cricketing legend. But the magic of Wankhede doesn't end there. Who could forget the incredible left-arm spinner Azaz Patel, who took an astonishing 10 wickets in an innings, becoming only the 3rd bowler in Test cricket history to do so. And when it comes to historic moments, one stands out above all. The last time India faced Sri Lanka in a World Cup match at the Wankhede Stadium, history was made. India won the World Cup in 2011. Expect more magical moments, unforgettable performance and a vibrant atmosphere that only Mumbai can provide. Stay tuned for all the action and excitement right here at the Wankhede Stadium, where cricket legends are born and history is made. I am Taposh Bhattacharya signing off with my camera person Bhim from Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai.
All right, the Wankhede Stadium will again witness a spectacular encounter today as India will meet Sri Lanka. On that note, we'll end this edition of DD India News Hour here, but stay tuned for more news throughout the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.